tuned into the Entrepaidneur Sessions, the ultimate podcast for startup entrepreneurs.
All right. So you guys, we're here today. This is Entrepaidneur Sessions episode 2. This is a fun podcast. I'm Jennifer. This is Mario. We're the co-host of Entrepaidneur Sessions, the podcast. So this podcast is about highlighting different startups and different business owners who've achieved success or are working towards success. So we're super excited to have Aaron Farouz on today. He's been a long-time friend of the brand, and he's just an amazing award-winning commercial photographer. Aaron started working in, basically what motivated him to even want to get into the commercial photography and videography space was when he was 15 years old. He watched the film The Matrix, and he was so inspired by that film that was the motivation that got him into the career that he's into today. He has owned his company Farouz Imaging for over 8 years, and he's worked with some major brands such as Hennessy and Moet. So without further ado, I'm very happy to welcome Aaron Farouz. All right. So Aaron, let me go ahead and send you a request real quick to unmute. So Mario, you want to kick it off?
Yes, sir. Hey, Aaron, how's it going, man?
Good. Can you guys hear me?
Ooh.
That good, right?
That's your dog saying good too, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just get right into it, man. Appreciate you and everyone who's on call today. Thank you for taking the time to be on this podcast with Entrepaidneur. And so this month's theme is about building a blueprint to your dreams. And so the first question I want to kick off is, how did you get started as a commercial photographer in videography?
Well, I got started by Craigslist and shooting in nightclubs, to be honest. So I got back from, I retired from football when I was 28, and I just started hunting on Craigslist 3 times a day, checking the post and sifting through a bunch of BS, like normal. But, this was 10 years ago. The thing, times have changed, hustles have changed. But I started on Craigslist, and that was my form of networking. And honestly, one thing led to another. And I ended up scouting for locations downtown Dallas, because I realized early on, photo shoots aren't cool unless you have a cool location, right? And it also always starts with location, because if you got a boring location, you got a boring theme, then you're gonna have a boring photo. So I ended up scouting locations downtown, and I walked into this building called the FIG, the Fashion Industry Gallery, and they had a really cool lobby. And my girlfriend at the time was like, go in there and ask them. I was pretty shy, so I didn't want to bother them. She's like, just go ask them. All right, so basically I was walking through downtown, and I walked into the FIG building, and I noticed they had a really cool location. So I wanted to talk to them about possibly shooting there. So a lady comes out named Sally, and she asks me, what's the purpose of the photo shoot, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, I just graduated from college, I'm broke. And I'm trying to build a portfolio, so people will ultimately end up hiring me in the future. So for whatever reason, I had favor with her, and she was like, okay, I'll let you, shoot in the lobby for free in the off hours. So long story short, I ended up doing trade work for them. So I would do event photography for them. And in turn, I was able to use their space for free to do photo shoots. And man, I got a ton of good photos, and I had a lot of good photo shoots out in that area within the FIG building outside. And I met somebody at one of their events. Her name is Beth, and she'd worked for a magazine at the time, and I can't remember right now, but I started doing work for their clients. And it's just one thing led to another. You meet one person and you never know, sometimes I just sit back and I look at, okay, how did I get to this point? And I look back at all the people I met on that journey, and it always starts with like one small decision that I made to go out, put myself out there and network. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So So some of these things that have happened, it's basically like it was fate. Basically, you're saying not just it wasn't just like hard work, but it was just chance meeting, like right place, right time kind of scenario, right?
Right, right. I mean, you could say part of it was luck, but luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And I wasn't at home. I wasn't, complaining or being lazy. I was out trying to take a chance. And that's what you have to do is the more hands you shake, the more money you make. You can't pay yourself, you're not going to get anywhere. And I'm not talking about taxes, but you can't increase your wealth just by your own income.
That's the first time I've heard that. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. That's good.
Yeah, I wish I came up with it, but I'm just, regurgitating.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, the field of photography, as you know, is highly competitive, especially in the fashion space, which you've worked heavily in. And how have you been able to differentiate yourself from your competitors to achieve like commercial, basically success?
So I will say this, I never told a potential client who emailed me that I wasn't able to do what they were asking me to do. Because, Mario and I both know you can learn anything on YouTube. And so, I mean, I had a client, for example, still to this day is my biggest jewelry client. They asked me if I shot jewelry. I had never shot a single piece of jewelry in my life before. And I was like, heck yeah, I can shoot some jewelry. And by the time, I always schedule my shoots 2 weeks out because 2 weeks is perfect amount of time to get whatever I need ordered from Amazon to come in, and perfect time to do some research on YouTube, do a little practice shoot. And then of course my Photoshop skills is going to take over thereafter. So anyways, I booked a jewelry shoot for William Noble's, which is like the highest end jewelry client in Dallas. And I'm not just saying that, they have a $4 million diamond ring. It's crazy. I booked the jewelry client without any photos in my book. And that's just because I've always been having like this will to learn something new. So jewelry, and then I go to shoot product, and I go to shoot fashion, and then I do music videos and video products. So basically, to stay competitive, you have to have a ton of skills. The days where, I just shoot interiors, or I'm just this photographer, or I don't do video, those days are over. You hear a guy say that or a girl say that, their days are numbered, because you have to be able to shoot, edit, and deliver in 3 days for $400. And that job used to be a $20,000 job. Before my time, I can't even speak from experience, but back in the film days, they used to get paid crazy. But because the market is so oversaturated, the way you set yourself apart is by being able to do everything. So when someone asks you, hey, can you do this? You say yes. And before they're, booking your schedule, you're already on YouTube, how to ... right? And you figure it out because you have the resources.
That's funny. Mario, I know you're about to kick in, but it's funny because me and Mario just had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were talking about, it was an artist, and they said the same thing, that it's important to, if you notice the artists that have longevity, that have been in the music industry for 10 years plus, it's like they never stay the same. Their albums don't stay the same. Their concepts, their style is always evolving. And that's like a constant theme we've been hearing. Like in any space as an entrepreneur, you have to constantly be increasing and growing and learning. You can't stay the same. So that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's actually a great segue to my next question. Because of the saturation and a lot of people, competitive prices, as a photographer, videographer, how do you target your clientele? Because I know you say you don't say no, but I'm sure there's clients that you kind of have to like, okay, they don't fit within my the budget that you have set forth. So how do you target your clients?
Well, first off, the first 6 years of my career, there was no targeting. It was like, surviving. So I just took whatever I could get. It wasn't until recently to where I started trying to optimize my website. And, honestly, since you asked me, you helped me out a lot with SEO. And, every year I would ask Mario, I'm like, hey man, what's Google doing? Because I know they're the godfather of being discovered online. So every year,
Appreciate it.
yeah, every year I would pick his brain, and he would tell me it's about alt tags and H1 tags, and your website looks great, but Google can't see all these photos because you don't have any text in them. So I was constantly revamping my website to be more visible in the Google search, and so that started populating. I started getting random emails out of nowhere. Where people were asking me about product photography. I was like, man, this is great. My website. I was the second leak for Dallas Jewelry Photographer. And I was just right after one website, and I hadn't paid any money. And I was like, man, that's awesome. People pay thousands of dollars for this, so something's going right. So basically, that's just to answer in short, I networked with you, Mario, and got some good information and applied it to my website. But I mean, I've tried a couple of different websites where you have to like bid on jobs, and quickly I was like, man, this is not so much that this is a scam, but it's BS that the people needing work have to pay for to put a bid in. I'm like, we're already broke, and now you're asking for money for us, I'm like, the clients who need to hire someone, they need to be paying, not the people who need the work. But they're going after the wounded fawn, who needs to work. Oh, they're probably going to pay more, and there's probably more of them versus the client. So I get it, but I never took that route. It was really just groundwork, just doing the hard work. And if you do good work and you network, it's just a matter of time.
Oh, Jennifer, you're muted.
Sorry.
There we go.
What I was saying was, Mario, maybe you can expound on this more, but what did you do from an SEO perspective to differentiate Aaron, or what kind of best practices did you give him? Because if you think about photographer, that seems like a million returns on Google, even if you specify it to the Dallas market. So what were some best practices or stuff that you shared with Aaron as far as getting more visibility?
Well, the thing with SEO and with Google, it changes all the time. And they always change the rules. So back in the day, you could just throw a bunch of text and make it invisible on your website, and you'd be good to go. Now they actually ping you about that. And then as of a few years ago, if your website's not mobile friendly, they'll ping you for that, and they'll push you down, the search engine or whatever. But some of the things that I tell people, outside of having an H1 and H2 and H3 tag on your homepage, is also making sure that you're active on social media. Even if you hate social media, always participate in conversation, interact with other blogs. In your email accounts, always add a signature, and then your signature link back to your website, because that also helps as far as optimizing your website and pulling you up. And I guess kind of a nugget that a lot of people overlook is that Wikipedia is also social media. And the reason why that's also important is you could also talk about your business on Wikipedia. And that comes up high in the search engine, and that helps with all the Google bots and stuff who are searching online to find your company. Plus, it makes you look a lot more legitimate. Even though anybody could create a Wikipedia page, just the fact of saying that, hey, I'm on Wikipedia, it's kind of prestigious in a way, so to speak. And so those are some of the things that I refer. And then some issues that people make that Aaron and I were discussing before was when people advertise on social media, sometimes they're redundant. Sometimes they say, hey, I got a gig, I'm willing to do a gig for $50 or whatever. And they repeat it over and over again. And that's actually gets you spammed out because people hate to hear that. Sometimes it's best to not even brag about yourself, just to kind of say, hey, did you know the new camera is coming out? The new Canon, 360 or whatever the new Canon is coming out. Awesome stuff. Or even going on YouTube and creating little bites, little video clips, just talking about, camera work or techniques and stuff like that without having to do a hard sell. a lot of that actually plays a role in the search engine optimization. So this is some of the things that Aaron and I were talking about, because you got a lot of bloggers, a lot of influential bloggers that are getting paid a lot of money just for talking about whatever they talk about on social media. So that's what I tell a lot of people who come to me and ask me for advice, is that you need to position yourself as an expert. Yeah, you got a million competition out there, but if you're consistent, and if you link back, just do some basic practices as far as linking back to your website, that helps a lot on the search engine optimization. And Jennifer, you're mute again.
Yeah, I know. I said that's good, and I noticed that I was muted. So sorry. Yeah, that's good. That's like really good advice. So I don't know, Mara, if you wanted to jump in as far as.
It actually comes up to another question, about as far as staying creative in the creative process. So, as a entrepreneur or business owner, a lot of times you're playing several different hats. You're going out there doing the project, you're editing the project, you're invoicing for the project, and then you have to follow up with other people who might not have paid the invoice or whatever, business stuff. And so I know during all that process, it kind of takes away from your creativity. So, what is a way that you stay creative and play all those roles in your business?
And to be honest, this was like one of the hardest questions that you guys had sent me. And it's still hard to kind of gather how I stayed creative, because I would say the first 4 or 5 years of my career, I was able to be creative because I had that certain clientele who weren't as commercial, and they were more like trying to do their own thing, like startups, and they were open for any suggestions. And so I was able to be really creative, and it was really fun. And then, I started getting bigger clientele who, we all probably know, the more corporate you deal with, the bigger budgets, but the less creativity, because they have a product they need to sell. They need to sell it for X amount of dollars and for 30 seconds, and there's no wiggle room. And so it's tough being creative in that kind of an environment. So honestly, it was tough. It was emotionally tough because I didn't get to do what I wanted. My hobby, which was starting to pay my bills, became my job, and I kind of stopped enjoying it. And so it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to find a happy medium between making the client happy and me keeping what I love and still being able to love it. So to be creative, or to keep my creative juices flowing, I would kind of have to do my own photo shoots in my free time, or have side hustles that allowed me to do 100% me, a photo shoot for me. I was the client, and I got to play art director, and those little moments kind of help me keep my hobby. And so when I go to do work for a client, which, don't get me wrong, I still love to do, but I don't expect to have that creative outlet there anymore, because I keep it for myself. And then sometimes there's a different form of creativity, right? Sometimes, for example, I had a client, my mattress client, and we were doing a photo shoot, and she checks her phone and she's like, oh, her boss just wanted us, out of nowhere, do this product shot with a Christmas tree. We had no game plan for a Christmas tree. We had no game plan for holiday marketing. And I was like, okay. So I had to think in my head, what set, what walls, what props. I looked to my prop stylist. I'm like, she's like, I'm on it. She finishes my sentence. She goes to the back and starts digging out all the Christmas props, and we came out with a great photo, and it's actually on my website today. But those times where that's technically we're being creative, but we're also kind of just putting a fire out and just getting the client what they need, but it's not the creativity that I know that you're talking about.
That's nice. I feel like part of being creative is being able to think on the fly too. So it may not have been what you would have made conceptually, like if you had time to blueprint it out, but I don't think some people wouldn't have been able to find a solution in that. So
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the first major project you ever did. I want to know like how you were able to secure that project and maybe a little bit more details as far as the steps to how you secured that job. And I think it may have been what we already talked about a little earlier, but maybe you can expound on it, because I think a lot of times when people talk about networking and business, they give a lot of really high level general information like, oh, be sociable, make sure you smile, have a professional's business cards. But those things alone don't translate to the sale. So maybe you can talk a little bit more in detail from the beginning of the process to securing that client.
So, and this kind of goes into, I think, another question, but I won't touch on that. So it was, I got a phone call from Karen, and it was her first day on the job for this mattress startup, and they make mattresses. And she basically asked me, hey, do you shoot mattresses? At the time, I didn't have a single mattress photo on my website, but I had been assisting a really big photographer for a few years. And the only reason why I was assisting and building sets and painting sets and laying flooring, which is terrible, by the way, and doing all this grunt work is so I could see how he lit the sets, so I could see the whole process. Oh, you need to have a soft stylist to style the comforter that you're selling. You need to have someone prep the pillows and all this stuff that you would never know unless you were in the industry. So to answer your question is like, that's a huge step, is you need to assist somebody who's doing what you want to do. You can't just come out of college or YouTube University and just be like, I want to do what so-and-so is doing. No, go assist them, because there's a lot of stuff that you can't learn on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff you can't learn in school, but the people who've been doing it for 20, 30 years, they're going to teach you like gold, priceless stuff. So I worked for this guy, his name's Keith Madigan, I'll give him a shout out. And I worked for him for about 8 years. And so when Karen called, she was like, hey, can you shoot a mattress? And I was like, yes. And she had no idea what she was doing. And she would be the first one to tell you this. This was the first day on the job, and she had never produced a photo shoot before. And she told me, 4 years later, because we circled about it, she told me she had called like 10 different photographers before me. And I was like, really? And she was like, but I liked you because you took the ball out of my hands and you became the leader of the photo shoot. And so I learned that the client wants you to be a leader, right? They don't want to feel like we're hiring you and they got to hold your hand. And basically, she had to produce a photo shoot and she had no idea, but I did. And I told her, you're going to need this, that, and the other. And she's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So instantly, she felt comfortable and more confident dealing with me. And then the next thing I did, and this is something I always do, is she had actually emailed me. And I email back as fast as anybody. No one responds to emails faster than me, that kind of thing, So I responded back to her really quickly. And anytime I get an email, my first goal is to get them on the phone, because now I'm no longer a website, I'm a person. And then once I get them on the phone, my next goal is to meet them in person, because now I'm no longer a voice, I'm an actual full human being. And that puts you steps ahead of anyone online. So I got an email from her, got to talk to her on the phone, and met her in the same day because I was available and I was hungry, right? And that's, I think, one of the biggest things and it's more detailed than just saying networking. It's saying like, okay, I got off my computer and I became a voice, and then I became a person in physical contact and shook her hand. And I also took over the shoot for her. I don't know. Yeah, I think that is what got me the $10,000 check for a video project. And that was the biggest check I had ever seen at the time. So, and it was the first biggest project I had. And I was just like, I wanted to frame that check, but then at the same time, I didn't want to feel like I was bragging about it. So I just cashed it.
It spins better than it hangs, right?
Right, exactly.
That's excellent. And then kind of piggyback off that, that's actually something that I, believe in. A lot of times it's your skills, but it's also your relationship, so it's about building that relationship with the clients. And sometimes that's what closes the deal. So that's awesome, man.
Oh,
excellent.
Yeah, one thing that kind of stood out. First of all, we're going to give Aaron a quick shout out from Shanta B. Said, Aaron, the way you're delivering this information is so valuable. So appreciate that, Aaron.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Instead of the fluff, because we're tired of the fluff, people want to know the real. How do we really do things? Right. So what I got from that I think was pivotal is Aaron took the conversation offline as soon as he could to like make it personal. And I think that's like a crucial nugget that I've pulled from this so far. Right. So I guess my next question is, what networking tips would you offer? And I know you've already pretty much did that, but I guess more generalized, what kind of networking tips would you offer to other entrepreneurs who are struggling to get clients and they're trying to land those crucial meetings, but they don't know how to initiate those conversations to secure that business, basically?
To be honest, it's tough because I was networking before Instagram was like this huge thing, and before social media was like this whole different realm of marketing. So my experience was more in person and going out and honestly just meeting people face to face, like old school. I would go to different, like on Facebook, I would check events. And if it was like anything that was beyond just partying, right? It was actually some type of networking, whether it be relevant to work or not. Maybe it was downtown Dallas expecting mothers. I'm like, man, I would go because it would be like, okay, maternity photos. Yeah, I'll do that, even though I don't really want to, but I'll do it because that mom might refer you to somebody, a lawyer who needs headshots for their entire, company. So that's how I did it. I know things are a little bit different nowadays with Instagram and like Mario said, you're just constantly, you got to play the social media game. You got to be commenting. And honestly, I don't like doing that either. I feel like I'm getting dumber with every time I swipe up with my thumb, and I just want to get off of it. So, I mean, I've hired, what is it called? Upleap. And they basically do the scrolling and the liking for you. So your SEO in social media stays at least, average, because SEO on Instagram is actually, you just have to be social. You have to comment, like, and spend time on their platform. So they'll show your profile and your posts more to people who are just searching. And once I found that out, I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. I have to be on Instagram. Like, it's just like a trap, right? But there's different apps that you can hire. It's not expensive, like $10-15 a month. And they just keep your profile relevant for you. If you're like me, you're in a place where you don't have time to do that, but you don't have excess funds to where you want to hire like somebody to do it for you. And interns, like, nothing against interns, but like it's such a temporary role. And by the time you're done investing in them, they're off, and it's for them. They get more out of it than I think the entrepreneur, the business owner. And that's okay, but I'm not interested in interns because they typically slow you down and they break equipment. So just done with that. So anyways, that's kind of, I wish I could give you more on that, but
no, you're good. We got some good questions coming through the chat too. So when we transition into our Q&A, we're going to touch on some of those. And go ahead, Mario.
So a question I have is revenue opportunities, for a commercial photographer. So, it started out as a hobby, and now you get to a level where you're like a commercial photographer and videographer. And by the way, saying photographer and videographer, I don't know if that's even politically correct, based on all the skill sets that you do.
Well, it's actually, it's redundant because a videographer is actually a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more specific.
So what would you classify yourself as? Would it be just more cinematographer? Does that summarizes everything, or?
I mean, I just say director of photography. It kind of covers everything.
But okay.
Yeah.
And so like other alternative options as far as revenue for commercial, for what you do, what are those?
Well, what I do stock photography in my spare time. And then obviously my biggest moneymaker is client vendor relationship. And then you can also do, right now I'm working on developing something I can sell or have a residual form of income. Basically, I do the work once and, I log in and check my bank account and I see that I've made money. And so I'm working on a tutorial video for beginner photographers. So it's a 10 episode type of a scenario where I teach you, and I target the common person who someone bought them a camera and they just changed their profile to say they're a photographer, but they're still shooting on automatic and they don't know a clue about studio lighting. So I'm targeting the very beginner, photographer or the recent college graduate. And so basically I'm trying to sell a video course online. So those are the three things that I think you can do, three different avenues of revenue as a photographer.
That's awesome. And that's really smart because I think as well, you already have a lot of stuff that can differentiate yourself just because you've worked with major corporations and you've shot ads that people have seen in magazines. So the credibility is there. And like you said, it's evergreen. So it's something you can create one time and you can put people through a sales funnel and just wake up in the morning with payment. So that's really smart.
Exactly. So, and that's what I was thinking. If I don't sell a single video subscription, it still gets me a ton of hits. Like Mario said, SEO, I've got my YouTube linking to my website and to my social media. And then if a potential client comes to my website and he's like, oh, wow, he's even teaching people, that just legitimizes the business that much more. And like you said, Jennifer, it's just like, my selling point is, because there's a ton of free tutorial stuff online, but my selling point is my body of work. It's just like, oh, I want to shoot like this dude, And so, yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. So now let's talk about risk, because everybody knows that entrepreneurship has a level of risk to it. It's not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. For you, what risk have you taken initially in your business that scared you when you did it, but it's paid off now?
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but I was forced into being freelance, and I graduated college in 2008. We all know that wasn't the best time to find a job, especially if it's an arts degree. So I was searching for a job. I think I had 2 interviews in 2 years. And so basically, I ended up going to Canada to play football, and I came back and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to, in my spare time, since I can't get hired, just start building my portfolio. So anyways, when football was over, I remember having 9 weeks of pay left, and it's Canadian football. It wasn't great pay. It was just normal pay. And so when I remember having that last check in my hand, and I was living in Mansfield and my rent was like $400. I was trying to live below my means. And I remember having that last check on the coffee table, and I was like, all right, Aaron, we're going to cash this. And then you have no money coming in. And it's not like I had a stockpile in the bank either. I'm like, either you do this or you don't. You just go looking for a job. And I was like, okay, screw it. Let's do it. Let's go just hustle. And I called up the FIG again and I was like, hey, I'm back in town. Do you guys need photography? And I just basically started over what was already working for me, and just doors just slung open. Like every door that closed in football in my last career was open in photography. For some reason, like you said, it seemed like it was meant to be. It's like, okay, the universe is having me flow this way. And once I caught that flow, it was just like, man, it was, I don't want to say it was easy. It was just working. Everything was working out. So I guess to answer your question in short, the risk that I took was deciding not to play it safe and get a full-time job and be miserable, to be honest, and work for someone else's dream 40 hours a week and get paid basically nothing.
That's good. That's good. You know how you said like it's almost like destiny sometimes. Like when you're moving in the right direction, the right doors will open up for you. Because you might have been pushing in another direction and you might have been putting your all into it, but it wasn't open. Then sometimes that's just, it wasn't meant for you. But the thing that's meant for you will make, way for you. Not trying to be deep or anything, but just
No, that's cool.
that's how it works sometimes.
So, quick question. So I know on this call there's several people, some who might be photography, some who might not, some that might have a whole different kind of business. But altogether we're entrepreneurs, we're business owners. We're all we feel like we're isolated, but the whole premise behind, Entrepaidneur is to show that we're a community. So as an entrepreneur, what crucial advice would you give entrepreneurs who are either just now getting into the business or, might even be seasoned? So is there any crucial piece of advice that you would provide for them?
Just speaking from my experience, I was blessed enough to have multiple passions as a young individual. By the time I was 15, I was like, oh, I want to do film. And at the same age, I was like, oh, I want to be a football player. So I had passion at a young age. And I took that for granted up until I talked to one of my friends, and he was like, man, you're lucky you found your passion. He was like, I still don't know what I want to do. And he got me thinking. So basically my advice would be like, whatever your passion is, and it might sound cliche, but I'm telling you, when you're having those ramen noodle weeks, that passion is what's going to get you through that week. Or when you have a client who stiffs you and it's not enough money to go to small claims, but it's, that's a lot of money still, right? I mean, it's those times that your passion is going to keep you going. And don't discount passion, because it's such a strong, energetic vibe. And that will draw the right people to you, because you're walking around in the light of what you feel like you're supposed to be doing. And that in itself right there is priceless. That is better than any SEO. No offense, Mario, but having passion and walking around with that is going to draw the right people to you. And, people living and working at a job that they hate, it's like everything else is falling apart in their life also, because they're just walking around in their own misery of hating their job that they have to go to. And that energy is going to grab the same and like energy, So follow your passion. It might sound cliche, but I lived that, and that's what got me through it. And, yeah, I mean, you couldn't pay me to do photo shoots because I was doing them for free on my own. And now I get paid to do it. And it's just like, man, that's crazy. It's cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yay. So now we're going to jump into our Q&A portion. And we're going to go ahead and get it started with Julie. Do you want to jump on camera, or you just want to enable your audio so you can ask your question? You can do either or. The question you posted. Oh, you know what? I have to enable your audio. Sorry. Hold on. Okay, I sent you a request to unmute yourself.
And while Julie is coming on, I have a quick question. So now I know photography, because of the whole COVID and everything, things have slowed down. And you mentioned the word hustling and getting in multiple residual sources of income. And so what are some of the other things that you're doing, outside of cinematography to make that hustle come true?
Well, I just created an art piece out of wood. I recently bought a house, and I was, I've got all these blank walls, and I was looking at big art online, and big art is really expensive, And so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy a saw and make my own art and take a photo of it and see if somebody wants to commission me to make another one. And that's just me coming back to my original roots of just creating with my hands as a kid. One of my earliest memories was drawing with, markers and stuff. And I was always really creative as a kid. And then I got into the digital art form. So just keeping busy with that, not really expecting to make money out of it, just enjoying the process of being creative.
Cool, that's awesome. Awesome. Is Julie able to come back in?
Yeah, and guys, you're now able to unmute yourself, so feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question and ask away. Okay. Try it now. Hold on. You guys are allowed to. Okay, now it should. Okay. Dean, you should be able to unmute yourself. But,
yep, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
All right, hold on. Where's the camera? Hold on. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
My question's pretty simple. As an entrepreneur for many, many years now, how do you, going through the peaks and valleys, right? Of business, the highs and the lows, the ups and downs. You lose contacts, you gain contacts, you lose friends, and how do you stay motivated? How do you keep yourself motivated to keep on pushing? I've had something that I've been doing for over 8 years. I've gone through that myself, so I'm just curious from another perspective, how do you stay motivated to keep pushing, even though you get mixed results? You get big wins and you get big losses at the same time, so, or small losses and big wins, so on and so forth. That's my question.
Oh, Aaron, hold on. We're going to unmute you, or ask to unmute, or unmute your, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it automatically mute you. Okay, cool. All right. So I guess I will just kind of answer your question, going back into being passionate about what I do and enjoying it thoroughly. You couldn't pay me to do it because I was doing it for free for myself as a hobby. But I get what you're saying, just peaks and valleys and having tough times. And yeah, I mean, I've lost friends, not in the industry or because the industry, but they were in the industry with me, and I lost that friend and I kept going. Honestly, the way I was going, I wasn't dependent on that person. I wasn't integrated with anyone in a partnership or anything like that. I mean, I would say avoid partnerships as long as you can. I mean, own your business 100%. Don't let anybody touch it, treat it like, your newborn baby, and just don't let anybody near it. And it's COVID season, and don't let nobody touch it. And it's all yours. But like I said, if you're not going to want to stay in it through the down times, and I'm not going to lie, there was times where I didn't have work on the schedule, and I had about 1 month's rent left in the bank, and it was Sunday night, and I remember, and I was like, Monday morning, I'm gonna get on the horn, tighten up my resume again, and get on LinkedIn. And I kid you not, Jennifer, this is crazy. I'm telling you, it's like perfect timing and stuff. But I kid you not, like that Monday, I booked like 5 shoots, and my career just went like crazy. Like that was the start of a 4-year where my income went up every year. Every year it went up, and I just kept monitoring it. And one very specific, measurable, applicable piece of advice I can give you is measure everything that you can, starting with your income and your loss. That's just one. I remember someone asking me, how much did you make last year? I think this was like my 3rd year. I was like, I don't know. And they're like, you probably should know. And I was like, okay, I'll figure that out. And I use 17hats.com, and it's great. It's like calendar, invoicing, bank keeping, like emailing, everything, all at once. So that makes the tedious, annoying side of things that most creatives don't want to deal with. It makes it so much easier. So
Yeah,
That's nice.
and you're the reason why I even use it too, because talking to you, you told me about 17 hats, and that's kind of what I use also. So appreciate that.
right on.
Aaron, I have a question real quick. You mentioned that you use, I don't know if you said Upwork, but you have a social media company or something that does the engagement for you for
Upleap.
about, it was what?
Upleap, like a frog leap.
Oh, Upleap. Okay.
Yeah.
And you
Hey,
said that
how did they leave?
price point was
How did that go again?
like a frog. So for like $15 a month, that's like a steal of a deal. So
Yeah,
y'all, that's gold right there.
They've got different packages. You can pay for the business one. I think it's like $50, and they have like a coupon or one of those promo codes you can enter, and it's like $35 a month. And I remember doing the business one, and it was crazy. It was so bad that Instagram, once every 3 months, they would put my account into like 24-hour freeze because they were just doing too much activities, and they were liking everybody's photo. And I don't know how they do it, if it's bots or not. The way they promote themselves, it's as if they have real people doing it.
Yeah.
Like they just have like an intern or someone who gets paid $10 an hour just scrolling through and liking pages relevant to you.
That's gold.
Either way, it's good. I don't have to be on Instagram.
Wow. Yeah, that's good info. I would have paid for that info because we all know like it's a lot. Like social's a lot. I do our scheduling and I use a lot of different apps. I use like Sprout Social and Buffer. Sprout Social is my favorite, but it's more expensive. Like the premier packages are kind of like more on the expensive side. So to have somebody that can do that for you. And Aaron, do they only do they like or do they also comment? And not spam comments, but like legit, like they like.
They don't comment. They just
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, but those likes, they help because people
Yeah,
get
they
those
do.
notifications and they go back to that page.
They do.
So that's really cool. Does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask? There was a question that came in earlier. So somebody asked you Aaron, how do you separate work from your personal life?
Man, that was tough because I've been working from home just about my entire career, other than when I'm doing photo shoots, obviously. And I remember having my desk in 3 different places at home because I couldn't figure out why I was so unhappy. And then I realized, man, I'm always freaking in my room. I'm always in my bedroom because I had my work desk in my bedroom. And I was like, I just was like, I gotta get out of this room. And then I didn't want to do work because it was in that room. And I was like, I have no separation. I have no physical separation of work and, everything's one. So I moved my desk to the living room, and my neighbor was like, this is kind of awkward. I was like, you don't know the battle. Don't worry about it. I'm putting it here. And I was facing outside my window, blah, blah, blah. So for me, that worked, was creating a physical boundary. So whenever I woke up in the morning, I would make my bed like a guy would make it, nothing fancy. I would make my bed, and then I would close the door till I was done working. And I was in the living room, and the living room space was still kind of overtaken. But nobody's really in the living room anymore. Everyone's in their own rooms on their tablets, and, the living room is dying, kind of a thing. But anyways, I was able to create a physical boundary and separate it that way. Now, outside of the house, I'll tell you, there was really no separation. I would tell you, I would go out drinking. This is when I first moved to Dallas. I'd go out drinking like 4 or 5 times a week. I'm not saying do that, but it didn't hurt because I met so many people. You can go out and don't drink and meet a lot of people. Seriously, the people that I met, like they became, they saw my work, they became friends, and they ended up telling so-and-so about whatever I did. And it just helps. The more people you meet, right, the more money you make.
And one thing you did tell me a while back was we had talked about vacation. A lot of people work just to have that, 1 week or 2 days of vacation. And there was something that you mentioned, you should take a vacation daily. And you got kind of philosophical about that.
Right. Yeah, man, because you're always working to like tiring yourself out, and always, felt sorry for you because I understand. And I was like, okay, if you can't take like a full vacation, take like a micro vacation to where like for 1 hour, you just go walk at the park. And that's one thing I like about having a dog is like, she keeps me on a vacation schedule because she needs to go for a walk. Right. And a walk is a micro vacation. And I'm talking about like leave your phone at home, right? Because the phone, man, I'm telling you, it's terrible. The phone, just knowing it's in our pocket, we don't even realize it, but it's anxiety in our pocket. Because we know when that certain ringtone goes off, oh, that's my email. Mario, I turn my email off on my phone. Like I turn it off because I don't even answer clients' phone calls on Sundays anymore. I don't even answer their texts anymore. I'm just like, man, forget this. Like, this is a Sunday. That's disrespectful. Don't call me on a Sunday. But yeah, leave your phone off, go for a walk, whatever it is you decide. And maybe it's only 30 minutes, maybe it's only 5 minutes, Mario, to where you get off your computer, you do some back stretches, you go in the backyard, take a deep breath, and just like seriously appreciate that moment right there. And, I'm not saying I'm perfect with this. Sometimes I get wrapped up in it too. And I got to remind myself, man, and sometimes I'm telling you, our bodies and our minds, they'll tell us like, that I'm doing too much or that I need to slow down, because you'll have a day where you're like, man, why am I angry for it? Why am I snapping at people, in the Sprouts checkout line? Like, so it's that's just an example. I'm just not speaking, just random.
For a friend.
Yeah. Take a micro vacation, man. Yeah, you can't force it. You can't force it, man. You can't force it. And that's one thing I'll say too is, don't force the universe. Don't, I say the universe, you can say God's will, you can say Allah's will or Buddha's will, whoever it is, right? Whoever your higher power is, just say, don't force it. There's something bigger out there playing into it. Go with the flow. If you don't have work, if you're not making what you want to make, don't stress about it. Balling up isn't going to help you, right? Just chill and let it come to you, and just know, like, knowing that it's going to come to you. I'm telling you, it'll happen.
That's good. And that's real. That's a word. I do that. I have this thing once a month. It's like a self-care day. Mm-hmm. And when outside was open, that could just be going to get a pedicure, getting a manicure, or just going to lunch where you want to eat. So I think that's really important. So anybody else, you guys? I got Aaron on the line right now, imparting all this wisdom. So I definitely wanted to ask and extend it out real quick before we wrap. And if we don't have any other questions, Aaron, I would like it if you could just, how can people get in contact with you? Can you drop like your social handles or your website, or what's the best way for them to stay connected?
My website is farouzimaging.com. Right there. And then.
Awesome. So Aaron posted the link, y'all, farouzimaging.com, and his Instagram is at farouzimaging. Farouz is FAIROOZ_IMAGING. So y'all make sure y'all follow him. If you got a budget, holler at him. So yeah. So thank you guys. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and catch us next week for episode 3. We have an amazing Chris the Maximizer is going to be on. She shows you how to use coupons to get money for your startup business so that you have more money to start your business. So we'll be sending out information about that soon. Again, Aaron, thank you for joining us, and everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
See you guys.
Appreciate it.